I know it's your show, and I don't want to be asking questions, but I am curious though. Is like when you put a witness on as a prosecutor, right? Each witness is strategically situated, and you don't put any surplusage on. You put on who you need, and you have a specific reason why you need them. This officer Proctor is under a lot of heat, a lot of pressure. Is no longer an officer. Was horrible on the witness stand.
Brutal.
Did 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 the government really need him? Or is he going to testify again?
Most believe he is not going to, but then you got to fill in some holes.
Right?
We won't know till we see the trial unfold. But I don't blame them for trying to work around him, but I can't wait to see how they do it.
Well,
He was the lead investigator.
How do you not call the lead investigator? This is another reason you got to look at what you want to do with this case. You had a hung jury already with the lead investigator. You're not going to call the lead investigator, which means you're going to lose something with regard to some evidence, it would seem to me, or you shouldn't have called them in the first place. What a disastrous move that was if you called them and you didn't need them. And then it also opens up the idea, will the defense call him? Which also opens up the idea is, does he have a right to remain silent because he's committed acts of official misconduct? It is a whole can of worms with this guy.
The Proctor factor, I call it. The Proctor factor. Okay, let's do one more and I'll let you go. We'll wrap this thing up. Let's do one more. Let's call this True Crime Roulette. When just tell me when, and I'll zoom ahead a little bit so we get to maybe some different stuff. But whenever you're ready.
There, right there. He looks like he's ready to make a point.
There's a different angle than here, right? But there's no flexion like in the elbow on this wound area. This is the bottom of the wrist, right?
That's correct. However, that part of the arm has a different configuration than the upper arm. And it's got it's got a bone right underneath it.
So you're saying...
The ulnar bone.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's got the ulnar bone. So a wound to that area is going to look different than a similarly placed or caused wound to this area, which has a lot of padding underneath it from the soft tissue, subcutaneous tissue, and doesn't have the protuberance of this bone right here.
We have a distance problem when we compare these, don't we?
We have a what?
A distance problem. The distances are different. If these are canines, obviously it's a different dog or something else that caused it, because the distances are clearly different.
Who's testifying?
Right?
Well, and this is what's interesting too. I said, okay, this guy either doesn't know biomechanics even at a rudimentary level, or something. He's suggesting, let's say these are your two canines, right? This is how they are in your mouth. That distance doesn't change, right? Unless your tooth gets busted. But what if you change the angle and you continue the cut? Well, then that's a narrower gap.
And like you said, the body's not static.
No.
Michael, I'm sorry, how much was this guy getting paid?
Well, he's capped at $75K, and that's through June. If the case goes beyond June, then they got to renegotiate.
They should have called me in. I would have saved them $25,000. You could pay me $50,000 to review the case.
Don't undervalue yourself there.
No, I want to do the right thing. I'm a public servant at heart. And I would have dismissed the case for you. No, listen. Okay, this guy honestly is an unskilled trial lawyer. Is an unskilled trial lawyer by the way he's asking his questions, the manner. He could have all the trials in the world, by the way. Doesn't mean he's skilled. Skilled, that's the word I'm using here. You could repeatedly make bad mistakes. I'm sorry to say that. I really am. He's making arguments that are not, going to be effective here. And now he's doing the biggest mistake you can make with an expert. I guess we're going to end your show on this very important practice point to all you true crime aficionados. I'm going to give you an example that was taught to me by my mentor on how to cross-examine an expert witness.
Okay.
He just violated it right there. You never get in the cage with a bear. You don't get in the cage. The expert is a bear. You put the expert in a cage like a bear. You lock the door. You make sure the door is locked. You get a big 10-foot pole, and you go and you poke the bear, and then you back up, and you poke the bear, and you back up. Because if you start to argue the science with an expert, no matter how stupid that expert may be, then you open the cage and you get in with the bear, you're going to get mauled. Any good trial lawyer knows you don't start mixing up the science with a person unless you are on 1000% solid ground. And what he was just doing there about when she's arguing about subcutaneous, she'll then become a professor. She'll then become the person who's going to be super smart because you're never going to have as much expertise as she does. So he didn't learn the art of poking the bear and backing away.
Yep, so important. And one thing I do like about practicing law, especially when you're dealing with experts, is you get to become sort of a baby expert, right?
Yeah.
But if you think you're going to go toe to toe with the real expert, you're screwed. You're screwed. That's the legal analysis I'd put on that. You don't want to be screwed.
Screwed.
So yeah. So just going forward, just so folks know, they did finish today. Of course, the judge did make a ruling because why would she do that from the bench? She's known for a long time how she's going to rule. But hey, let's create some drama. So she didn't rule. They'll get back at it the end of this month. There's a hearing again, Dobert hearing, this time on the digital evidence from the car. They're claiming that the digital evidence removed from the car that determines location, speed, angle, wasn't properly removed the first time, that there's some new digital toy that will give you more information than they were able to get the first time. So that's up on the schedule. And then, of course, this hearing to see if they can get rid of the two experts who said this car never hit a body. John O'Keefe was never struck by this car. Anyway, so that's that. Bob, such a pleasure. I miss the good old days. Even though, as I told the audience, we didn't get a chance to do this very often. I can think of one or two times.
Yeah.
I think it's too bad. I think they missed an opportunity there, Law and Crime. But hey, what do I know? It's their toy box.